My big picture takeaway, everybody that has to be there is there. To your point, the U.S.'s fate is not going to be determined by Shaq Moore over Reggie Cannon or Christian Roldan over Malik Tillman. And think about this. These 7 or 8 guys that we consider the standard bearers for this generation, Pulisic, Reyna, McKinney, Mosse, Adams, Aronson, Dest, we thought that law of averages, a couple of those guys were probably going to be injured, unfortunately, and miss this World Cup. They're all there.
Yep.
They've had their injuries, but they ended up healthy at the right time when you absolutely needed them to be. They're all in the squad, and it all looks set to play. So, and we didn't see that in qualifying.
Not even U.S., but how many other countries can say that?
Absolutely,
right now?
yeah.
Looking at other nations that have announced their World Cup rosters, missing not just a player or two, but big players. If our big guys are there and they're all starting that first game, I feel pretty good about this team.
All right, so let's spin it to a couple of weeks from now. You already kind of said that one of your takes is that you think Sargent starts over Jesus Ferreira up top. Let's assume everybody's healthy. Reyna to everybody else there is healthy. Then, who do you think ultimately starts that game? And give us a couple of different things that might surprise us. You said Ream next to
I think
Walker,
I would feel
right?
pretty confident in. I would have one question mark, and that's going to be in the forward part of the field. I think if the World Cup, November 21st, arrives, every player is healthy. Matt Turner, left back, Anthony Robinson, Tim Ream, left center back, Walker Zimmerman, right center back, Serginho Dest, right back, Tyler Adams as a 6, Weston McKennie, and Yunus Musa. I would have Christian Pulisic as a left winger. I would have Josh Sargent, and I would start Brendan Aronson.
Okay, so
over
Gio Reyna and Weah on the bench.
Yes, and then I would for sure at some point having Gio Reyna start one, if not 2 games. Maybe it's the second and the third game. I have to have Aronson in there, and if I was maybe in a push, I would have Pulisic as the 10, Aronson as the left winger, Gio Reyna as the right winger.
What do you got?
Everything Stu said I agree with, except I would go with Reyna instead of Aronson.
Okay.
You would go with Reyna on the right-hand side.
Right.
You'd also put Ream?
I would put Ream and I would put Sargent
that...
up front. But I think he'll put Long and Ferreira. I would go with Ream and Sargent at those 2 spots, but Greg Berhalter will go with Long and Ferreira.
Okay. I worry about Ream in a game in which we are going to have the ball, which we are going to be pressing, and therefore leaving space behind us, which is always going to be the question for it, right?
Really? Yeah. But Ream's a better passer than any of those center backs.
Yeah, the passing part of it, that's not what I'm worried about. But when people give us the ball, they also give us space.
So, for example, against Wales.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But Wales don't have the speed to burn in behind us.
Okay, fine.
And what I've seen from this team over the last... I don't have to agree with you.
You don't need a sprinter, to get past Ream.
Ream is faster than you would think. We're portraying him to be... I mean, between him and John Brooks,
I got no
Ream's
problem.
would smoke
If
Brooks.
you start Ream, that's fine. That's not a big.
Is Brooks an omission for you? By the way, that name was tossed out. It wasn't even remotely
that ship sailed a long time ago,
100%.
and I don't think that's changing anything.
Yeah.
I do have Jesus Ferreira instead of Sargent starting up top. On the right-hand side, I do have Weah instead of Reyna.
Looking ahead to that Wales game, what are the odds Gareth Bale has a dramatic moment?
It's going to be fun. All right, so bigger picture then. Is this 26 enough to bring us to the promised land, which is obviously getting out of the group first?
Yes.
First part of the promised land.
Yes? It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree. I think there's a really plausible path to the quarterfinals. I think the U.S. is better than Wales and Iran, and they're as good or better than 3 of the 4 teams in Group A. It would only be the Netherlands. If I was a betting man, I'd pick the U.S. to finish second to England and go out to the Netherlands in around 16. But it would not shock me if they got to the quarterfinals.
I am
Alexi,
there with you.
You stood on the stage in 2014, I remember, in a much harder group than they have now, and you said they wouldn't.
Yep.
They squeaked through that group, I think, beyond odds. How did they do this time? Because
absolutely they get out of the group. Okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
So first off, I am, and I think we talked about this on the pod, I am concerned that there is going to be a dumbing down and a lessening of expectations when it comes to this group. As we know, the youngest team that's going to the World Cup. But, again, this is a generation that has been given everything. From a young age, they have been, basically nurtured to be in this moment. And therefore, we should expect more from this team. Getting to a World Cup, from a men's perspective, we've done that plenty of times. Getting out of a group, from a men's perspective, we've done that plenty of times. We should expect this team, even with the debates that we have about who's in and out, we should expect this 26 that was named to absolutely find a way out. We are better than Wales. we are better than Iran. That's 6 points right there, okay? And again, don't let them off the hook simply because they're young. And don't let them off the hook because we're simply looking towards 26. They should do well this World Cup, which is getting out of the group, and then you take your chances, and a nice pathway also for the U.S., depending on how it works. But whatever happens in 26, I think is dependent on what happens in 22. And I think Greg Berhalter understands that. I think this group understands.